Okay, so here is my larynx model. It is very rough, but we are going to make it work. And get a little bit closer. Okay, so we'll start with this hyoid bone up here, or this white piece of paper. So the hyoid bone would be located at C3. It has these horns which are directed kind of back and then a little bit upward. So the larynx would be suspended from the hyoid bone by the medial and lateral thyrohyoid ligaments. And then the base of the tongue would insert superiorly into the hyoid bone. So next we have the thyroid cartilage, which is this yellow portion. It is the largest cartilage of the larynx. The anterior angle of the thyroid cartilage is attached to the cricoid cartilage, or the orange part down here, by the median cricothyroid ligament, which is not pictured, but that is what it would be attached by on that side. And then on the superior posterior angle, that attaches to the hyoid bone by the thyrohyoid ligaments, and then the inferior posterior angle attaches to the cricoid cartilage by the cricothyroid joints. So the two horns of the thyroid are the superior horn, which attaches to the lateral thyrohyoid ligaments, and then the inferior horn, which attaches to the cricoid cartilage. So next we will do the epiglottis, which is this flexible structure right here. It is sort of leaf-like, and it folds over like this. So it has well, it's really flimsy on this structure. It's about to break, but the important part of the epiglottis is that it folds over to prevent food from entering the larynx. So it covers that entrance. It contributes very little to speech, but like I said, it has that very important role of protecting the larynx. And that is attached to the thyroid cartilage by a ligament. And then the broadest portion of that is attached to the hyoid bone up here by another ligament. So next we'll look at the cricoid cartilage, or the orange portion down here. So that is attached to the first tracheal ring by ligaments, and those are these lovely rubber bands. So the posterior part of the cricoid cartilage is the lamina, and then the anterior part's the arch. The inferior horns of the inferior horns of the cricoid cartilage up here attached to the cricoid cartilage, and that's attached by the cricothyroid joint. And then next we'll look at the arytenoid cartilages, these paired purple structures back here. Sorry, they're hard to see, but they are the pyramid structures that are sitting on top of the cricoid cartilage. So with that, we have the TA muscle and the vocal ligament that attach to the vocal process of this cartilage. And then we have the PCA and the LCA attached to the muscular process of that cartilage. So then we have the trachea, which is this paper towel roll. It's hollow, it's flexible, kind of cylindrical tube. And then we have the tracheal rings, or again, these rubber bands on here, and they are all connected by a mucous membrane lining. So the trachea runs from the inferior border of the larynx for 11 to 12 centimeters-ish, and then that divides into two primary bronchi at the end of the carina. And what will we do next? Let's move to the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. So let's start with the TA. So the thyroarytenoid muscle, along with the vocal folds, which they're hard to see in here, but we're going to talk about them. So this forms really the bulk portion of the muscle, the bulk of the muscular portion of the vocal folds, excuse me. So there are these long sticks back here, which are not exact on this model just because the integrity of the structure is not so great. But so there's two muscle bundles to the TA. So we have the thyrovocalis and the thyromuscularis. So the thyrovocalis, those fibers originate on the inner surface of the thyroid cartilage, kind of near the notch of the thyroid. And then those insert on the lateral surface of the vocal process of the arytenoids. Again, those purple structures in there. So contraction of this draws the cricoid and the thyroid cartilages apart, which tenses the vocal folds. And then the other part, the thyromuscularis, the fibers of that originate on the thyroid cartilage, and then they insert on the muscular process of the arytenoid, and contraction of this draws those arytenoid cartilages forward and relaxes and adducts the vocal folds. So next we will do the CT, or the cricothyroid muscle, this purple part, which it would really just be a portion of it, but the two parts of this muscle are the pars recta and the pars oblique. So both of these are vocal fold tensors. And the fibers for those start at the arch of the cricoid cartilage, and then they end in two different spots. So the lower fibers will insert near the thyroid lamina and the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage, and then the upper fibers will insert into the lower surface of the thyroid lamina. And so when the pars recta contracts, that thyroid cartilage will be tilted downward, and then when the pars oblique contracts, the thyroid cartilage is drawn forward. So this kind of increases the distance between the thyroid cartilage and the arytenoid cartilages. So next we will do the LCA, or the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. These paired muscles, they're hard to see on here. I apologize, and they're not exact once again, but these are important because they are the direct antagonists to the PCA. So they play its adductor role, and I don't even know if you can see them on here. Well, yeah, okay, kind of. That smaller, hard to see sticks. So these start at the arch of the cricoid, and then they insert into the lateral surface of the muscular part of the arytenoid. And when this contracts, the arytenoid cartilages will pivot, and this adducts the vocal folds and closes off the glottis. And also, importantly, this stiffens the vocal folds. So next we will do the IA, or the interarytenoid muscle, which is this kind of crisscrossed green dough in here. Again, not exact on the model, but these are the only unpaired intrinsic laryngeal muscles. So these muscle bundles, let's see. So the transverse arytenoid and the oblique arytenoid both help in adducting and medial compression. So the transverse arytenoid fibers start from the posterior surface of the arytenoid cartilage on one side, and then they insert into the corresponding surface of the other arytenoid cartilage. So when this contracts, it draws each arytenoid cartilage together, and then the oblique arytenoid fibers, they'll start at the base of one arytenoid cartilage, and then they attach to the apex, or the top of the arytenoid cartilage on the opposite side. So again, the crisscross. So the contraction of this bundle will pull the arytenoid cartilages together and adduct the posterior portion of the glottis. And lastly, we have the PCA, which is the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. So that's going to be this paired muscle, these green spots, which is the only abductor muscle. And these start at the lamina of the cricoid, and then they insert into the medial surface, let's see, of the ipsilateral arytenoid. Again, not exact on this model, but that's where it goes. And then whenever this contracts, it abducts the vocal folds and opens the glottis. So this muscle is more active during active abduction, like quick or a deep inhalation. And I believe that is it. That was kind of long. Okay.